You're in an argument that started 15 minutes ago. You can feel the shape of it by now, the same one you've been in before, just with different words. The other person's voice has shifted into something sharper. Their sentences have gotten shorter. They're repeating themselves, circling back to points you already addressed, because addressing isn't the same as accepting. And you? You're not yelling back. You're not matching the intensity. You're just steady. Your voice hasn't risen. Your heart is beating faster, that part you can't control, but your words are coming out measured, reasonable, calm. And somehow, this is making everything worse. They're not calming down because you're calm. They're getting angrier. You can see it in their face, that flash of something that looks almost like confusion, except confusion doesn't usually have this much heat behind it. This is something else. This is the moment when a person who thrives on emotional chaos realizes the chaos isn't spreading, and they cannot stand it. This reaction, the rage that emerges when someone refuses to be pulled into emotional turbulence, is one of the most reliable indicators you're dealing with a manipulative personality. Not the only indicator, but perhaps the most visible one. Because what you're witnessing in that moment isn't simple anger, it's a system failure. To understand why calmness triggers this response, you have to understand what manipulation actually is beneath the surface. We tend to think of manipulation as a set of tactics: guilt trips, gaslighting, love bombing, silent treatment, and it is those things. But those are just the tools. The mechanism itself is something deeper. Manipulation is, at its core, an attempt to regulate internal emotional states by controlling external ones. Think about this. A person who cannot soothe themselves when they're anxious, who cannot process their own shame when they feel exposed, who cannot tolerate the discomfort of not being in control, that person has two options. They can develop the internal capacity to handle those feelings, or they can try to make the world around them bend so the feelings never arise in the first place. Manipulation is that second option. It's emotional regulation outsourced to other people. And the primary tool for outsourcing emotional regulation is something psychologists call interpersonal emotional forcing. It's the process of generating strong feelings in others, so those feelings can be mirrored back, validated, soothed, or deflected. If I can make you feel guilty, I don't have to sit with my own shame. I can focus on your guilt instead. If I can make you angry, I don't have to examine my own behavior. I can react to your reaction. This is why arguments with manipulative people feel like walking through a hall of mirrors. Every point you make gets reflected back, distorted. Every attempt to resolve gets turned into a new problem. The goal isn't resolution. The goal is emotional motion. As long as feelings are moving, intensifying, cycling, spiraling, the manipulator has something to work with. They can steer that motion. They can redirect it. They can use it to keep themselves from having to look inward. Now here's where your calmness becomes a problem for them. When you refuse to provide the emotional intensity they're trying to generate, you're not just declining to participate. You're removing the very thing they need to regulate themselves. Your calmness creates a vacuum where emotional motion used to be. And in that vacuum, they're suddenly left alone with what they've been trying to outsource, their own internal state. This is why the anger escalates so quickly. It's not that you've won the argument, it's that you've removed the argument's purpose. You've turned a two-person emotional regulation system into a one-person confrontation with self. And for someone who has spent years, possibly decades, perfecting the art of not feeling their own feelings, that confrontation is unbearable. There's a specific psychological mechanism at work here called the reciprocity expectation. Humans are wired for emotional reciprocity. When someone raises their voice at us, we feel pressure to raise ours. When someone cries, we feel pressure to comfort or become defensive. This is deeply ingrained. It's how we coordinate social behavior, how we signal understanding, how we maintain connection. Manipulators learn to exploit this wiring. They generate the emotion they want you to mirror, then react to your mirroring. It's a dance where they're leading, but you're doing most of the work. When you stay calm, you break the reciprocity loop. Your nervous system is saying, I'm not matching this. And to a manipulator, that refusal reads not as composure, but as rejection. Because in their framework, emotional reciprocity isn't optional. It's the price of engagement. If you're not matching them, you must be withholding. And if you're withholding, you must be doing it intentionally. And if you're doing it intentionally, you must be against them. This is where the anger shifts from reactive to strategic. Because now, you're not just failing to regulate them, you're threatening their entire model of how social interaction works. If emotional reciprocity can be refused, then control can be refused. And if control can be refused, then they are fundamentally unsafe in a world they thought they knew how to navigate. Let's look at what this actually looks like in a real interaction. A woman is on the phone with her mother. The conversation has drifted, as it always does, toward a topic the woman has asked repeatedly to avoid: her career choices, her relationship timeline, her decision to live in a different city. The mother's voice carries that familiar blend of concern and judgment, the kind that sounds like care but lands like criticism. The woman doesn't take the bait. She says calmly, "I understand you're worried. I'm not going to discuss this with you right now." And the mother's voice changes. The concern drops away. What's left is something colder. "You think you're better than me? You've always thought that." You sit there all calm and composed, like you're above it all, like you don't owe anyone an explanation. The woman still doesn't escalate. "I'm not trying to be above anything. I'm just not having this conversation." "You're impossible," the mother says. "You're cold. I don't know who raised you to be this cold." The calmness has been reframed. What was composure is now coldness. What was boundary setting is now superiority. And the anger, the real, genuine anger in the mother's voice, isn't about the original topic at all. It's about the refusal to participate in the dance. The calmness has exposed something the mother cannot afford to see: that her concern was never really concern, that her involvement was never really love, that she has been regulating her own anxieties through her daughter's compliance for decades. And the daughter, by staying calm, has made that visible. This is the deeper layer most people miss. The anger isn't about winning or losing the argument. It's about self-preservation. The manipulator's entire sense of stability depends on their ability to generate and direct emotional motion. When you stay calm, you're not just blocking that generation. You're revealing that it was happening at all. You're holding up a mirror to the mechanism itself, and the person looking into that mirror doesn't see their own reflection. They see you. They see your calmness as an attack because it forces them to feel what they've been avoiding. But they can't say that. They can't say, "Your composure is making me confront my own emotional dependency." So they say, "You think you're better than me." They say, "You're cold." They say, "You don't care." Every accusation is a confession. Every label they throw at you is something they're feeling about themselves but cannot own. This is where the psychological paradox hides. The angrier they get at your calmness, the more they reveal about themselves. Their rage is a diagnostic tool. It tells you that you've touched something essential, that you've refused to be a receptacle for feelings they cannot contain. And their inability to tolerate your composure tells you more about their internal landscape than any amount of yelling ever could. But here's what makes this difficult to navigate. Your calmness in these moments doesn't feel like strength. It feels like something is wrong with you, because the reciprocity expectation is real. When someone is yelling at you, your body wants to yell back. When someone is crying, your body wants to comfort or defend. When you override that, when you stay steady while the other person spirals, your own nervous system sends warning signals. Are you feeling the right thing? Are you being cold? Are you the problem? This is the trap. The manipulator's anger is designed to make you question your calmness. If they can make you feel guilty for being composed, they've won. If they can make you defend your calmness, they've pulled you back into emotional motion. The moment you start explaining why you're not upset, you're upset. The moment you justify your composure, you've lost it. The only way through is to understand that your calmness is not for them. It's not a tactic. It's not a way to win. It's simply your refusal to participate in something you never agreed to, and their anger at that refusal is their problem to sit with, not yours to soothe. There's a reason this dynamic shows up most intensely in close relationships. The more someone depends on you for emotional regulation, the more threatened they'll be by your composure. Romantic partners, parents, close friends. These are the relationships where manipulation has had years to entrench itself, where patterns are deeply grooved, where the expectation of reciprocity is strongest. In these relationships, your calmness isn't just a refusal in the moment, it's a threat to the entire history of the dynamic. Every time you stayed calm in the past and then eventually gave in, you reinforced that the pattern worked. Every time you escalated and then apologized, you confirmed that emotional motion was the path to resolution. Your calmness now is rewriting that history. It's saying, the pattern stops here. And that's terrifying to someone who built their stability on that pattern. This is why the escalation can feel so extreme. The person isn't just angry about the current conversation. They're angry about every conversation you're not going to have like this anymore. They're angry about the loss of a tool they've relied on. They're angry that you're becoming someone they can't predict. And here's the part that's hardest to accept. Their anger is legitimate. Not in the sense that you deserve it or that it's justified, but in the sense that it's real. They really are losing something. They really are confronting something painful. The difference is that you're not responsible for managing that pain. You never were. The outsourcing was always the problem, not the solution. What does this understanding give you? Not a script for what to say, not a technique for winning arguments, something more valuable. It gives you the ability to sit in your calmness without being pulled out of it by their anger, because now you know what that anger means. It's not about you. It's not proof that you're cold or wrong or superior. It's data. It's the sound of a system encountering something it cannot process. And you don't have to fix that system. You don't have to soothe it or fight it or explain yourself to it. You just have to stay where you are. Here's something worth sitting with. If your calmness triggers anger in someone close to you, what does that tell you about what they've been getting from your emotional reactions all along? What have you been providing that you didn't know you were providing? And if that provision stops, if you simply become steady, present, and unwilling to be moved, what will be left in the space between you? Not what will you say, not how will you fix it, just what will be left.